All right, everybody, welcome back to the What's Next podcast. Got a special guest for you today, but before we introduce him, I want to introduce our guy behind the scenes, Tony. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
We also have another guest in the podcast room today, which never has been done before, but he is an awesome sales executive for New Venture Escrow, probably one of the best I know. Nathan Wood. Say hello.
What's up, everyone? How's it going?
Do you go by Nathan or Nate?
Either way.
All right, you can call him Nate.
Oh, you go by Wood.
Nate Dog.
Wood? Nate Dog? We'll call you Nate Dog.
Nate Dog.
But again, hey, I just want to introduce this awesome guest today, all the way from North County. He has a very unique eye when it comes to homes. He's a third-generation San Diegan. Can you say San Diegan?
Yeah.
San Diegan? Or San Diego native? San Diego native?
Either's fine.
He knows San Diego like the back of his hands. The owner of Epic Real Estate and Management, Roy Wannamaker.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the show, buddy.
Appreciate being here. This is fun. I'm already enjoying myself.
Awesome. Everything's great?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. We got a little clap. First podcast?
No.
First best podcast?
First like full-on podcast. All the other ones have been kind of just almost staged, if you will.
Tell me about that. What stage? Like, what do you mean?
Meaning mostly for content type podcast, not more of just a common go with the flow. I've done a couple videos like this before, but never, sitting down, chatting, and, staying away from what we're trying to focus on for content.
I got you.
Which is cool.
There is no direction for this today. I'm just going to let you
I like it, yeah.
We're just going to have a conversation. This is about you.
That's when we learn things.
This is when we learn things. Don't be shy.
Okay.
All right? We're going to do a little icebreaker.
Sure.
I always do an icebreaker. This is Would You Rather. It's the best part of the show, actually. Really get to know you.
Okay.
Nate, you can jump in at any time if you like to answer. By the way, Nate's not on camera. Maybe we'll show him later.
Oh, boy.
He's a good-looking dude.
Face for radio.
Exactly. Yep. Definitely a face for radio. We'll start with some easy Would You Rathers. Would you rather meet your great-great-grandparents or your great-great-grandchildren?
I'd probably say grandparents.
Grandparents?
Yeah.
You'd go, let's see. Have you never met do you know your great-grandparents?
No.
Okay, so even going back another generation.
So even further, yeah.
Wow.
I had a feeling they were probably pretty tough, so that'd be fun to meet.
Yeah.
A little concerned about the grandchildren growing up, what they might deal with.
Well, you also want to see if they still know, what was it, great-great-poppy? Like, you know?
Yeah, where they were, I think would be the most curious, yeah.
Yeah,
were they U.S. at that time, or were they still in Euro?
Right. So we talked about this, though. Your last name is very interesting.
Yes.
So going back to wonder why there is a double N in your name.
Well, so it originated in Germany from what I've read, doing the ancestry research. But it was a Wannamaker with an Mecher was the German. And then I think Ellis Island, they didn't like that, wanted to clean it up, so it became Wannamaker with one N. There's been a lot of interesting things. Being on the West Coast for so long, there's not a lot of history over here, and I've learned it in college. I found out there was a Wannamaker department store in Philadelphia, and supposedly it was like an FAO Schwartz or even a higher level, kind of like that. So,
1N.
Yeah. And then the Wannamaker trophy is the PGA Championship trophy. So my grandfather was born with his birth certificate with 2 N's. However, 1N was the original last name of his father, and he did not care to change it. And so the legacy of 2 N's has come about, and it makes sense. Wanna, the only downside is when you're young and people find out your last name's Wannamaker. There's so many nicknames.
As soon as it popped in my head, as soon as I was like, even walking my dog, I was oh, should I make some jokes about Wannamaker?
It got to the point at college I was fed up, but when I hear a new one, I'd enjoy it.
Oh, that's good. I don't have any, there's no good ones.
You got a Quesada and a Wood.
Yeah.
So, he's the only standard.
Hernandez. Yeah, like a Quesada, I get quesadilla, like it's just super, Wood.
We don't need to mention mine.
No, that's right.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to go back to see where that extra N, that's great. So now you meet your, the single N.
Yeah, curious what they did too.
Yeah.
I can only hear stories of what people said, the lineage had. So we were blue collar from my dad's side. Apparently, great-great-grandfather was a horse trader, so there was some business in there. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious.
That'd be cool to sit down. No, I'd pick the same thing. Nate, would you?
Yeah. I'm a little bit concerned about future generations, to be quite honest.
Well, the only reason I'd pick like grandchildren would be like, hey, am I still mentioned? Because by then, great, it's just like,
Where's your legacy end?
yeah, where's the legacy end?
Oh, yeah, kids
You
these
know, with the
days
one-
are stuck in their phones and in the future
Yeah,
far.
if
Like, they
you're-
might not even have a phone. It's just like in their head, and they're just staring off into the distance, but they're really
Or
on
they
Instagram
don't
or
want to
something.
know you because they found out you once had a MySpace page. Something like that. Yeah.
I feel like MySpace comes up on this podcast every time. Once, we get date ourselves. That's trouble.
It was the theme song of life.
Yeah. Or maybe
Right.
things that are normal now in the future is gonna be seen as something outrageous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're not on Google, you're going to get lost. That's sad.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not on that little page, but I think that's why Ancestry
yeah.
and those 23 and Me, those will be around for a long time. That will help kind of
Yeah.
get the double ends.
Right.
All right, I got another one for you. That was deep. I like that one. Would you rather every scoop of ice cream you ever eat be too melty, or every brownie you ever eat be a corner piece? I feel like this is a no-brainer.
Gotta go melty.
Melty?
Yeah, I'm not a crusty brownie guy.
You're not a crusty brown. I'm a corner guy all
I thought
day.
you were gonna go middle gooey brownie. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But melty ice cream's not bad. It's like a shake.
Yeah, I guess you're
Yeah.
right.
I prefer it. I mean, you go to Handel's up in North County, Handel's ice cream. Like, the worst is opening Ben and Jerry's. It's been sitting in the freezer for too long. You can't even get your spoon
It's
into
ice. Yeah, you're waiting 30 minutes just to eat your ice cream when you wanted it 30 minutes ago.
I was
You're already
wondering
over
what
it.
that stain on your shirt was.
Oh, well, I mean, gotta have
That was
it, right?
Ben. That was Ben and Jerry's an hour ago.
Oh, yeah.
It finally melted.
Whole carton can't go anywhere.
Oh man, that's so funny. I say because I was like, oh, everybody's gonna pick corner piece, but I guess there's some people don't like that little crispy like.
I mean, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I'll eat it. But
Yeah.
But the milkshake you rather have. All right, let's move on. Would you rather have to only watch horror movies or only rom-com for the next year?
God, I'd probably have to go horror.
Right.
Yeah, rom-coms they can be so cheesy.
Especially this time of year, coming into like Christmas is just Hallmark.
At least horror cheesy, it's cheesy,
You know what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, rom-com, you're just like it could be good, and then it gets too romancy in the middle, and you're like, I lost it.
Yeah.
At least, yeah, like horror, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I know what to expect. This guy's gonna jump out here. It's gonna be silly. It's fake.
Yeah. Not going to get in the car and drive away. We're going to
Yeah.
hide in the house.
Yeah.
All right, I got another one. Would you rather live in perpetual winter and always be a little too cold, or endless summer and always be too warm?
Wow, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one
I
because
would
you're
say-
uncomfortable no matter what.
I would say endless summer.
Endless
so I'm
summer.
much happier in trunks than I am in, pants and jackets.
Right? And even when you're in pants and jackets, you still have a little chill.
Yeah.
I think getting rid of a chill is the hardest thing to do. When you're hot, you're like, yeah, I'm hot. No sheets
Easy
or
to nap.
anything.
Yeah.
You throw water on yourself. You go like stand in front of the freezer. Yeah. Maybe it's just us Californians
Yeah.
or the desert people. I'm from Arizona, so
yeah.
yeah, I can handle a little heat.
What about Nathan?
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
I'm for sure heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all weenies here. All right, you ready to get a little creepy with these?
Sure.
All right. I put some creepy ones. I actually put creepy just in case. I didn't know if you like these or not. Would you rather become twice as strong when you have both fingers stuck in your ears or crawl twice as fast as you can run?
Crawl twice as fast.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's very like bizarre or super creepy.
No, it's more of a survival thought, right?
I guess,
'Cause
yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with two fingers in my ear and
Yeah,
try
you
to be
can't.
strong.
I mean, you could run through, maybe run through walls because it's what.
or
Let's see.
kick stuff.
Or kick.
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Whereas crawling really fast, you got to get away and you can't run, or there's some bushes.
Yeah.
Safe.
Bear crawl.
You would creep some people out too.
Or if you want to join the military, you know how they have to go under that barbed wire
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
win every time.
100%.
Yeah.
You would. I think you would scare the enemy at that point.
Yeah.
Like if you were just coming at them like too fast, and they're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
that's
Americans, what?
Yeah.
That's actually really terrifying. To
Yeah.
me.
Really creepy, right?
It is really
But it would also be super strange. You're like kicking down doors and going through. Like you have to stick your fingers in your ear.
You would
That's
have
what-
to be a firefighter. 'Cause
Yeah.
Your sole purpose would, to bust down
jump on
doors
me
and-
because I
Yeah.
can't handle you without my fingers in my ears.
Grab both arms. Yeah.
Yeah, grab both arms. That was an interesting one. Okay, would you rather 30 butterflies instantly appear from nowhere every time you sneeze, or one very angry squirrel appear from nowhere every time you cough?
Butterflies.
For sure.
Yeah. My kid loves butterflies. It'd be easy to entertain. Yeah.
You would go to birthday parties. You'd be instant hit.
Yeah, I just bring
kids
around
gather
a-
out.
Bring around a cup of pollen, get my allergies going, sneeze butterflies out for everyone.
Oh
Does
man,
anyone pick the angry squirrel?
I don't know. I think it would
have
be like,
rabies.
what is it? Yeah, it's just a very
Imagine.
not even just angry. It's a very angry squirrel.
Well, if you got enemies nearby, that's not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
Get him, squirrel.
Get him scrambled. Oh,
Yeah,
but
but-
it's not attacking you.
Yeah, is it angry
Well, I
with
don't know.
you
It
or
just says,
in general?
I guess it's kind of what you.
What you want?
What you
Oh, okay.
want.
Well, that changes it because if it's very angry, it's going to start to fight me.
Yeah, if it's an angry squirrel that's on your side, then that's kind of cool.
Well, do you?
It's like your superpower.
Are you a multi-sneezer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, see, you're just like butterflies. You gotta be like,
Oh, yeah.
you gotta run outside at that point.
I average 3 sneezes a time
Yeah,
usually.
that's 90
Yeah,
butterflies.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Be outside always.
You have to be outside. Like they're like, go outside, go outside. There's 90 butterflies appear in your room. You're like, oh sweet, I gotta get rid of these before I go to bed. I mean, there's some downside to it.
Run the fan. Yeah.
Yeah,
just constantly
Open
have
the
one of those
window.
like bug
Yeah.
killers?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like butterflies would just be like an everyday thing at that point.
Yeah.
These are hilarious. I like you, Tony. I just started laughing out loud. I was trying to even type them. I was like crying laughing. All right. Would you rather trees scream occasionally for no reason, or spiders be big enough and smart enough to open doors?
God damn. No.
Right?
Probably trees screaming.
Yeah.
That way you at least know, something else is going on when it's quiet in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
If they're not screaming, you should be scared.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because spiders opening doors, I don't mind them at my house. They take care of a lot of bugs. But
Yeah.
if they're going to start coming into my room, that's going to be
They're just
bad.
like, hey, Roy, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're smart enough. They're gonna adapt
And
and,
they say
start talking.
big enough.
and
You say big enough.
Big
They're gonna
enough
take
and
care of
smart.
those
They're
butterflies,
bigger.
though.
Yeah, telling me the dog bowl's empty. It's like, no.
They will eat your butterflies.
Yeah. Well, that's a
Or
good
the
point.
angry squirrel.
They could take down 90 butterflies.
They could
Yeah.
easily take down 90.
Well,
They'd
I
be
actually
happy.
heard a fact from YouTube or something that when you cut your grass, like that smell of freshly cut grass is actually the grass sending a chemical signal to other plants that there's a massive threat around. So it's basically when you smell grass, it's your grass screaming.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm never gonna cut grass again. Thanks, Nate.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
That sucks.
wow.
Wow. Way to bring it down, Nate.
This is
I mean,
it.
just this poor grass has
Goddamn.
emotions now.
Yeah.
Don't worry, in 10 years, everything's going to be fake turf.
100% everything's
yeah.
gonna be. We keep going in this direction with the drought. It's gonna be
He's going to be wet.
fake turf. No,
Wow.
they're trying to eliminate all the screaming grass. Little cut. Yeah, for sure. All right, I got another one for you. Would you
Wow.
rather wear sweatsuit or dress to the nines daily?
Dress the nines.
You dress to the nines.
Yeah, I'm not a sweatsuit guy.
All right.
No Russian history in my blood. I'm not a big Adidas fan, So
You're not the full jumpsuit.
or
like-
Italian, I
Beastie
guess.
Boys.
They
yeah,
like
you're
it too.
Italian. You can get away with it.
No, dress to the nine, because that way the sweatsuit gives off that, is this guy going to rob me or is he going to come collect money type vibe?
Or are we gonna like jam out right now and
Yeah.
do a little like dance battle?
That could be true. Yeah, bring cardboard with you.
Yeah.
Don't think about that.
Yeah, but you
be
dress
cool.
to the nines. I mean, you're ready for anything.
Right.
Anything. Podcast.
I mean, look at James Bond. He does so much stuff dressed to the nine. So
For sure.
you can get around with it.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. There's some good looking, Tony and I have researched. There's some good looking outfits I would wear all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I can get away with hats. I got a small head. Those little like what are they called?
Golf hats.
Peaky blinder hats. Like what's that? Like
those are dope.
those are dope. I don't
They're
think I can wear
dope, but
them.
I don't think I can pull it off.
You definitely can't pull it off.
I can't.
No, cannot.
Yeah, I
can you
cannot.
pull it off? You ever wore one of those? What are they called?
I don't know. I
Where
think
it, like,
I know which
snaps
one
in
you're
the front?
talking about.
Yeah, the ones that
Nathan
like
can.
a what is it? A Kangol hat?
I think you have to be look Italian
like,
or like
I know
some
what you're
sort
talking
of.
about.
If
Yeah.
it's not a
British.
Padres hat, I don't really wear them.
You're a Padres fan.
Yeah,
Die hard.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, growing up around here, it's the last team I have to support. So
Chargers
I put
fan?
all of my
You were a
chips
Chargers
in
fan
that.
too.
Yeah, that pile. Yep. Chargers.
You still a Chargers fan or no?
I root for. I like the players. I don't like
Yeah.
the organization. Well, at least
Well.
the owner. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he could have done a lot better things.
I don't know if
would have
any
been more successful. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us here are here for business. We know that putting value into your organization, into the area, comes back to you.
Yeah.
Disappearing, hoping that you're going to turn a leaf, or shunning a lot of people doesn't necessarily get you what you need.
Right.
I mean, it showed the day that they left. I think it was like 10,000 people brought their jerseys back to the front office and threw them on the
That's
front.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Which helped the Padres, though. I believe that if you needed to support a team, if you had season tickets to the Chargers, you definitely transformed into more of a Padres fan going out.
Potentially. I think it's a combination of things. Qualcomm was one of the negatives. You know,
Right.
being it was so old, it's kind of just the layout, things like that, parking, etc. Petco is such a fun environment, being downtown. That was a big turn of events for the Padres, and then they've heavily invested in their team, and it shows. You know, it's been a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, they've got a lot of great events too. If you've ever done the golf in the stadium,
I
that's
have
pretty
not.
fun. Yeah,
I have not. Maybe this year.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try this year. Which brings me to my last question here. Would you rather be with 4 of your best buds on a golf course or by yourself shredding some gnarly waves? You like how I said that?
that's always been a funny comment. A lot of people talk about that. The worst day in the water with your best friends can be way more fun than the best day in the water by yourself. So I'd go with the 4 friends on the course.
With the 4 friends on the course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being by myself in water, like I said, I'm a desert guy. So, like, water, not growing up here, actually, boogie boarding and being in the ocean for the first time, I'm like, oh, water. Until you get pounded by your first wave, you have no respect for water. And now, these days, I'm like, hey, I respect you a lot. Please don't kill me. You know, you grew up surfing.
Yes. Yeah. I've grown up in the water, and I've spent a lot of my youth by myself in the water, and I definitely enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It's like being on the golf course by yourself too. It's a mental thing. It helps growth, kind of helps you calm down too. And there's times where that's separated me from just work and whatnot. It's been a great environment. Yeah. But you're right. If you've ever traveled, especially to other areas where water is prominent, South Pacific, things like that, to see people who are really watersmen is a treat. It's a lot. It's the way that they can just see things, read things, be a part of it. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. But there's nothing like a foursome morning, no one pushing up against you, or you're not pushing up against anybody on a golf course that you could just...
Yeah, especially if you beat all your friends.
Take all their money.
Really, yeah.
At the end of the day, take their money.
Got a cool John Daly in the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little excessive, but yes.
His drinks are good, though.
So let's go back to your childhood. Born and raised, California. Tell me about that. Encinitas, always.
Yeah, so born in Encinitas. Dad, grandfather were National City. So I've experienced all of San Diego County, which is great. Growing up in Encinitas, very lucky. We had a great childhood. Got to basically live on the beach, on the bluff when I was really young, and then my parents relocated to an area right by all the schools, so it made it convenient for me. But the lifestyle is great. I mean, growing up, having friends that we would jump on our skateboards and go skate down to Swami's with our backpacks and our skateboards, shove them in the bushes, didn't worry about them getting taken, go out and surf. Sometimes we were there at 5 a.m. It's a pretty cool environment to have. And then it's really different now. A lot of people don't realize that Encinitas used to be this whole garden area. It was a lot of greenhouses, a lot of farms, and it was the flower capital of the world. It used to be.
Really?
And then, and so all of that agriculture's kind of changed over. And I gathered it, but not really knowing it from my dad's perspective, was Encinitas, Carlsbad, all those areas were kind of like the rural areas compared to downtown. So everyone that was from the downtown area looked at that as the country, which was kind of funny.
That's interesting.
And so, but I mean, I went off to college and was talking to people about it, and they're like, what's it like? And I'm like, I didn't realize it until I got to look at it at a different perspective, but I had surf PE in the mornings. I would literally get up, go to the beach. I had to be in the water by 7:30. Had to progress, which definitely happened for everybody that was putting their time in. Yeah, great people, like just a ton of fun. Then you get back to school, you feel refreshed.
That was your PE class.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then we had skateboard PE too later on, which was the YMCA had built out their skate park, and so you had to do some progression again there, and that was a ton of fun. It'd be after lunch, so it'd be a good break. But the cool part was our school pushed us to excel, so it wasn't like I was missing out on classes. I had I'd like pre-calc and then I'd go skateboard, so it was pretty fun. Definitely, but that's an advantage to be in that area. Not a lot of areas have that, and knowing friends, I grew up also going to the snow and to the mountains. Those guys had ski PE and snowboard, and they all progressed in that matter, so we had something to correlate to. But then everyone that was from maybe Central California and whatnot, they kind of talk down on it, which I understand, but at the same time, you look back on it like, oh man, that was really lucky to have.
Oh, super lucky. Like getting up, getting in that water freezing. I mean, the Pacific Ocean is not.
Well,
something-
it's not so
it's
bad
warm.
around here. There's definitely cold mornings. I went to school
Yeah.
in Central California, and there was mornings there where, the locals obviously laughed at me, but I would sit there with a hot cup of coffee and just be like, there's no way I'm getting out of my clothes to put a wetsuit on right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wetsuit, by the way, if you surf.
Sometimes,
If you surfed
yeah.
all the time, yeah, it had no time to dry. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But to get in there, but it's regardless, it's the most refreshing. I'm like I said, I'm from the desert, didn't grow up here. My buddy always, whenever he comes and visits, he's like, we got to get in the water. He makes me get in the water every time I don't want to get in the water. And I don't regret it. Like I get out of the water and you just feel like a whole new being. It's the craziest thing. You're grounded. You're like ready to go. You transform.
Yep. The experience is great, and then you're kind of intertwined with all of the sea life, and that's kind of funny too, because not really thinking about that, and it also growing up in this area meant I was able to fish. I had a family that loved fishing, had a fishing boat, so we had California, Baja California, all of that to be able to access without any issues or limitations, basically, and that was great.
You're still a big fisher?
Having a young child has been difficult because my wife's not really comfortable with me leaving at 3 a.m. and coming back at 6 p.m. when we have so much going on. But yeah, definitely, it's super fun and it's something I really enjoy doing.
Did you go to college in this area?
No, I went to college in Monterey Bay. I went to a Cal State Monterey Bay, and at the time, it was a brand new school, and it literally got accredited like 6 months before I was going there. So it was kind of a shot in the dark, but I knew the area. I'd been up there a lot. Ended up being great.
Nice.
Same vibe kind of down here, just a little colder weather, but
Talk about cold water, too.
yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
And some big stuff out there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely had moments of concern when the birds would disappear, the dolphins would disappear. And
There's some big things out there that you don't
we
want
all
to be.
get in our own heads. Yeah. All right, I think we've had enough time. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh man. So you went to college there, finished. You graduated business school.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Concentrated hospitality and marketing. Was one course away from the full hospitality, which is, we talked about this before. And
Right.
I ended up getting a job at a resort called Pebble Beach and worked there and had a blast. And that was one thing I kind of had to draw to, but business had so many more avenues to it. And then I really loved golf at the time.
Yeah.
And all the major golf companies were in San Diego. So it was kind of a reason to come back home.
Nice. Now I read. I do a little research. I read your bio. So you always kind of knew that you wanted to do something in sports. Were you another sports guy, or was it always golf?
Oh yeah. Baseball was one of my biggest focuses. Well, soccer and baseball were my two sports growing up.
club
And baseball
and everything.
did the clubs, did the travel. Baseball was like my higher pressure sport that I really enjoyed, and I ended up having a coach that I unfortunately just kind of lost love for the sport at the time, and
That sucks.
then went back to soccer full time, and then I was able to try out, and I was a sub for a year up at college, which was a lot of fun. Got to know the guys on the team, got to experience what better skill sets are, and had a ton of fun with that. So those were two things. Golf was always kind of a back burner. Surf was always a big part of life too. So how I could mix that in was basically what I would do, and then being in an area of Monterey, you're surrounded by quality golf courses. So it was inevitable that after our sophomore year and everyone started picking up jobs and staying full-time in the area, a handful of guys would start working at the golf course. And then we had some friends on the golf team that we lived with in the dorms, and so got to start kind of going and playing with those guys, and it just snowballed from there. And so fell into golf, and then working at a golf resort that people paid $500 a round for, and then watching people spend $500 on a brand new club that they don't really hit well, I started to realize there's a lot of money in golf.
There's a lot of money in the golf.
Not a bad industry to go focus on.
Yeah.
Not to mention apparel-wise, they had great stuff. Clothing was really nice.
And how long ago was that?
God, this was 2005, 6, right around there.
I mean, even now, like you see golf apparel popping up everywhere because it's a different niche these days.
It's still. I was fortunate that I was at a higher end resort, and then afterwards I came back and I worked for Ashworth, who was a brand out of Carlsbad.
Okay.
And at the time they were the licensee for Callaway's apparel. They built a little bit higher end golf apparel. We call it so you had A, B, and C for your golf, resorts and golf clubs, and the A was the main category. So higher end golf courses, country clubs, higher end resorts, and that's who they catered to. And then, the polyester game came about, and golf apparel, there's still that high level of quality.
Right.
But you see a lot of stuff now. It's kind of interesting how it's, the cheap stuff just comes about, and it works great. I mean, the polyester stuff, don't get me wrong. In our hot summers, it's really needed. No one wants a big cotton shirt. Everyone I know that's moved to Encinitas area that's been stung by a stingray
Yeah.
doesn't shuffle. And it's that one occurrence, or they jump off their board and land on it. And it's
Sometimes you can't avoid it though, right?
Right.
I mean, there's obviously an instant you fall off your board and you put your foot down because you're just trying to catch your ground, but like
Yeah.
shuffle your feet.
Yep. It's so simple.
I've definitely scared some up,
Oh, yeah.
and they obviously haven't stung me, but still, whew, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No.
So out of college, did you come back home after college?
Yeah. Yeah. So I came back home, and then that's when I got the job. I started applying at different golf, locations, worked for a couple golf companies, just trying to get my feelers out there. And I ended up getting a job with Ashworth.
Yeah.
And I was just an inside executive working on the corporate apparel. So basically we, at the time, Ashworth had built this gigantic facility in Oceanside that was an embroidery facility. Damn. So they were able to sell their apparel, embroider whatever logos. And our job was we were working with the accounts that were promotional products, right?
Yeah.
So these companies, whoever they may be, they would go to corporate offices, or they would be the ones that would set up these golf tournaments, and then they would embroider those companies. So some of the bigger ones, for example, Penske, Shell, a lot of these bigger corporate companies, they would want their logos on golf apparel. Mostly it was for the execs, but at the same time, there was a lot of times where they did perks for everyone. But so our bigger accounts who've known these people, that's what their promotional products were. So
Yeah.
I supported that, got to know the apparel, and then started moving a little bit up to where I was kind of like an account executive, overseeing the top accounts and catering to them, making sure that we got things done right for them, getting samples out to them, going and visiting them and supporting, their clientele base, and a lot of golf, which was cool.
That's amazing.
That was the fun part. Yeah, going and actually
A lot
playing
of trading golf to
Yeah.
like other places. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of making people happy in the corporate world. So
Nice. So where did you, in between that timeline, where did you start the family? When did you meet your wife?
wife was way later.
Way later.
Yeah, so at that time I was just kind of on my own. Was still surfing a ton, and I had a serious girlfriend in college that we broke up prior to me moving back home, and so I just kind of wanted to take that time to focus on career growth and enjoy life.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to go and situate myself into, and so I got into riding motorcycles, riding out in the desert, surfing a ton, going down to Mexico a bunch. So I just
Living the dream.
yeah, at a 25-year-old, honestly, it's kind of funny going to bed on a Friday night at 9 o'clock so I could wake up first thing in the morning and take advantage of my Saturday. And that was the one thing, though, about that job was I was west of the Mississippi, but I still had some East Coast accounts. So I pretty much was up at 5:30 in the morning.
Damn.
Yeah, adhering to them, and then, staying pretty late in the office. But at the time, that's how you are. You're young. You've got energy. And,
Yeah, you sleep 3 hours. You're ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was when
Invincible.
Red Bull and Monsters were prevalent in life. Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're hungover. Now with a kid, can't be hungover at all.
Oh no, I remember
worst.
I coached youth volleyball, and we always had tournaments in club. We always had tournaments on Saturday, good 2 hours away from what the city I was in, and I look back at those days and I'm like, how did we drink on Friday nights and get up at 5 a.m. to drive to a volleyball tournament by 7, coach for 6-7 hours, and come home on a Saturday and do it all over again? I mean, my body was just like, what are you doing to me? But it happened. You
Yeah.
could do it when you're 20s. Now I have one
Yeah.
drink. Tonight I'm going to recover. I'm going to be like, oh man, what'd I do? I had a podcast yesterday.
Yeah, there's no naps.
Right? No, nothing.
So you get your real estate license and you're off and going.
So basically, I had pressured from colleagues. They're like, "Go get this," right? No real idea. And at the time, I don't know, maybe I was scared, not really quite sure, but I never really wanted to be a commission only. I just kind of wasn't a security, right,
Yeah.
at the time, and that was kind of where my head was at. So I'm like, no, I don't think I'll go that route. Well, 2009 comes around, and everything goes down. So our company ends up getting sold to another
The golf
larger
company.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Ashworth
yeah.
got acquired by TaylorMade at the time, and they dissolved a big portion of it because sales were down, things were changing. That warehouse that we had, I think we're utilizing maybe 15% of it. It was
Yeah.
such a big facility, and the hope was to grow with it, and unfortunately, the timing just wasn't correct.
Right.
So I reached out to a friend of mine at the time who was an attorney and just kind of asked him, hey, who do you know in the real estate world? I'd love to kind of just talk to some people, maybe get my feet wet, figure out if this is the route I want to go. And my parents had approached me a year or two prior saying, hey, we've been thinking about investment property. What about you and your work? Do you want to work with us on, some properties? And use that real estate license. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's a pretty good idea. So kind of started looking into that, and then got introduced to a guy who was a real estate agent that kind of needed like an assistant, and he worked for another broker at the time, and he was same like me now, solo, owned his own company, and did great business, worked out of his house, and hustled. And it was a really good environment for me to get into, because it kind of showed me how, because coming from that corporate world, you have the pros and cons, and I definitely had a negative connotation in my head over what I wanted out of that, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my time in an office doing something for someone else. But I knew that I couldn't just go right into real estate and be my own boss without actually learning things. So that's where that kind of started working for him, just soaking in what they were doing, being a part of their deals. And
what company was that?
That was called Tierra Capital.
Tierra Capital.
Yeah. And the owner at the time, this guy, Glenn, he's great. He was a San Diego State grad, did mortgages and real estate. So he
Smaller company?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a few agents, smaller company, but he still competed with the big guys.
Right.
Did quite a lot
That's
of deals.
amazing.
Yeah. And so he really taught me a lot, about what he does, what to do, how to handle things. And just kind of that time too was everything was changed. The whole market was down. We were doing short sales. We were dealing with purchases at the auction house. It's not like, today's real estate where you're listing a property. The listings were difficult, but we were working with some investors, so doing flips. So, going back to the childhood era, my dad was an electrical contractor. Grandfather was a plumber. So
I was going to go back because when I introduced you, I said you have a unique eye for houses, that your family has been in construction for
being two things there. Part of that family, an only child, there's no daycare wasn't a thing back then. So I got thrown in the truck, and then I was the Thomas guide. And this is how you date yourself, is I had to look up these addresses in this fat book and determine our route of how to get there.
That's what I was going to say.
And so I learned San Diego's side roads really well. I already kind of knew the area just from where my dad was from and going to see family, things like that, exploring. And so I really learned a lot of intricate areas of San Diego that way. But then, being a part of housing, had me work with some of his framers, had me do electrical, met a lot of guys in the trades and just kind of got to know it. And then growing up, I had a bunch of friends that ended up doing construction because that was kind of an easy gig right out of high school.
Yeah.
So learned all that stuff with them. So when we were doing these flips, I was able to walk these properties and kind of look for things that would stand out, that would lose us money instantly, just foundation stuff, roofing, things like that. The big ticket items.
The most important items, for sure.
Because it's hard to see behind walls, obviously.
Yeah.
No one can really do that except for Superman. So those are things that were kind of integral to me growing. And then fast forward, I worked with those guys for a few years, and then I met up with a friend of mine who was an attorney as well, and he had his real estate license, and he was in the commercial development era as a general counsel, wanted to start a company. So I jumped with him as a broker partner and started doing that and helped grow that for 4 years. So that was 2014, I think, was when we started that. And then I ended up meeting my wife, at the time, my girlfriend. And so I was just doing well with those guys, but just kind of still had that entrepreneurial mindset, wanting to always do my own thing. And as much as I enjoyed that, I still noticed there was things that weren't my own. And not that was a bad thing, but I think it was a growth that was natural, and I understood that. So wife and I started, dating heavily. I decided it was time to kind of move on and just make a new chapter in our life. And so that's kind of what happened. So then what was that? 2019.
2019, yeah.
Started Epic Real Estate Management, Inc., left on my own, and here we are 3 years later. I've been growing ever since, and it's been great. And I still don't really have anyone inside, like sales agents, things like that. I wanted to run this by myself for a while and get comfortable, then start to do the growth. Also, that span of growth in the market from 2010 until 2020, I knew was never going to sustain.
Right.
There's always going to be a correction. So I wanted to not be over leveraged or, have too much expenditure out there. I saw that with several companies while I was learning the trades, that people tend to put a lot of money into certain things, offices, other materials that overhead just don't matter in our market. So
100%.
That's kind of where we went. And history is kind of funny when you look back on it, how quickly it goes. But at the time it seemed quite a bit, but I have several teams in place that just aren't a part of my company. They're separate. Yeah.
So you started Epic 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's great. Market's great. Everything's like no one. You know where I'm going with this. I gotta ask this everything. But you're 2020, pandemic hits. You just started your own company. What's going through your head?
So the first three, you start a company, you spend all this money on just organizing the company, getting everything, your paperwork done, your website development, basically knowing what I've known from the other companies. I'm trying to get this set up so when I go off and running,
Right.
I'm not, trying to drag a couple bags of things that I need to get done behind me. So as I'm going into it, it started out slow, and then 2020 I started picking up big time, and
Right.
so that I saw that time and energy I put into it start to come out into fruition, and so it was interesting because there's two sides of it that I saw. One, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be a bad thing for the housing market, but at the same time, it was a very big unknown. The other thing was it eliminated open houses. And that's probably something I shouldn't talk about. God, I hate open houses.
You can talk about it. This is what we're talking about with us. Cause be organic about it. Like not everybody loves open houses.
No, but sellers love them, and they have this whole mindset. And I mean, we've transitioned from.
But do sellers really love them, or are they just not like?
All.
Thank you.
Not all do, because they don't want people in their space. If you have kids and a family, and you're forced to clean your house to like its cleanest it's ever been, just for a weekend. And
every day.
Not to mention having people go through your drawers and whatnot. And I try my best to be like, that doesn't really matter, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because it is a way to market yourself and to brand yourself. But the majority of people, in my experience, that I've met at open houses are just looking. And if somebody's serious to buy, they have somebody that they work with.
Right.
Or they've already called me prior to that because they saw it come on the market.
They're gonna call you to be like, hey, I've saw this like they're already asking questions.
Because you have your first time home buyers, then you have people who are experienced in home buying, and they know that what they see online isn't all the detail.
Right.
So they want to know more. And one of my clients, I love them, we talk about this all the time, is that the wide angle lenses that photographers use when photographing houses is one of the biggest, I don't know what you want to call that.
Catfishing?
Yeah.
It's got to be the biggest catfish. Yeah.
Lures, I was thinking. But yeah, one of the biggest way to get people in, and they're like, oh, these bedrooms are huge. And you get there and it's smaller than this studio. And you're like, wait
How
a
do they
minute.
do it?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a trick. Tony, is that a trick?
It's just a wide angle.
It's
like
just
you
a
said.
wide angle.
It's
Like
just
they're standing in the
corner.
Like the corner, the door is shut. Like it's
It makes things look. It makes things look bigger than what they are.
Yeah. And that's like, back in the day when we'd skateboard and stuff, we always wanted to, photograph and film our own stuff. And so fisheye lenses were really popular then. And there was a cool 180-degree perspective.
Yeah.
And I remember doing some fisheye photos initially when I got into real estate. And I'm like, oh, this is a great way to show off the entire space. But people shot that down real quick. They didn't like the fisheye angle.
Yeah.
And then the wide
just
angle
the magnifying. Is that what it kind of is? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes things visually very far away too. And I think it gives a better perspective. But at the same time, it's just not what people want to see. You know, it's not visually striking for some people. And so that's kind of what changed. But
you almost want to fake them out. You want to catfish them because you want to get them in the property.
Right.
And then that's when you talk to them and
like
be like,
advertising. It's like, hey, you can buy this car today for no money down, for no % APR.
Yeah.
And then there's that tiny little fine print that's like, actually, none of that really matters unless you pay all cash. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's how they get you.
So,
no credit. Your credit score can be trash.
Bring us your car that you can't drive and we'll give you $300 for it. That kind of stuff. Because, I mean, they're trying to lure the people that don't think about those things. But
that's why you have
in real estate,
salespeople,
we're trying to get you the house. Yeah. That's really the bottom line. Because nowadays, everyone searches online. Everyone looks online. But the key, and that's one of the benefits to real estate that I enjoy, is it still requires you to be present.
Right. So do you think technology, let's go into technology here. Do you think technology has helped this industry or hurt it?
I think it's helped it. It's kind of funny because I feel like there was something I read recently that was talking about the platforms, how all these real estate platforms are going to change the way you do business. And really the internet or the technology and things has made it so we can find stuff easier, understand neighborhoods. Right. I love technology in the sense that it allows you to look at a property and understand what's close by, what's a benefit to you, like demographics, all those things that are great to have just kind of the information on.
Right.
But you still can't, you don't know what a layout's like. You don't know what the slope feels like when you're at a house. If the backyard's steep, there's a lot of things that you just can't see through technology.
Right.
But technology has helped. I mean, especially with people relocating from other areas.
Yeah.
Like yourself, you talked about being from the desert. If you that's one of my selling points is growing up knowing this area so well. I'm able to kind of talk to people about, their preferences, I think, in a better dimension, if you will. But if you're moving to an area that you don't know, and you hear, for example, if you're from New York and you hear, oh, Carlsbad's the best city to move to, and they're like, great. Well, Carlsbad has 4 zip codes. It has a ton of space. What do you want to be a part of? Where's the traffic go? Are you commuting to work? Like, where do you want your kids to go to school? There's just a lot of things that you don't know till you're there. And even then, that's where I don't think technology can really, unless for some reason we figure out a way to actually have like, virtual reality
VR,
where you
man.
walk around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
then maybe that might change, but I still don't think so.
Yeah. I had an experience like that. We moved not only from, Tucson, which is a small city, to a big city, Dallas, for 1 year. And again, Dallas was booming at this time. It had been 2012, 13. And again, we sight what is it called? Sight unseen or something like that. Yeah. We put an offer in and got the house. I never even saw the house. My wife, I think, flew out, saw the house. She's like, you're going to love it. But you see it. You see all I could visualize was pictures until you move in there and you're like, okay, now maybe I can see myself in this. But yeah, it's helped it. And it's also kind of like, do you think it's given too much knowledge to buyers and sellers?
Not necessarily. I think you I don't know. That's a hard question to answer because I feel that there is a more knowledge, and it makes you more knowledgeable and makes you be able to do your research better. And I kind of like that, to be honest, for the individual to have that research, because I feel like the old school method of real estate was that the realtor knows everything, right? And you rely on them for that. And that's gotten a lot of people in a lot of trouble. So the fact that people can do their own research is really good too, because I think it helps me when I'm speaking to them about what they want. Because before, if someone doesn't know what they want, what I want and what you want can be two completely different things.
Right.
And it's not for me to put my wants on you. So I want to hear that. But at the same time, no, because the information that's out there is what's inputted. And I have to tell my clients this a lot, that when we do searches, it's got to be very broad, because there's a lot of small niche items in there that have to be added to these listings. And if it's not done by the individual lister, then you're not going to find it. So if you want a specific home with a pool and a certain size lot and, et cetera, directional facing, if it's not inputted into that listing, it's not going to be under that search criteria.
Right.
And so that's where I think you don't necessarily get all the information you need.
Yeah. Well, going back, you go 2014, people are like, I want this and this and this. And you actually had to go out and find it. Now they're sending you like actual photos and like, here's a property that I want to look at. That's helped kind of you cut out all that fluff of trying to find them something that they're envisioning something in their head, whereas actually they can show you on paper.
Right. That does help. That helps me understand what they're doing. But at the same time, I don't really want them to be sending me stuff. I want to make sure that I'm the one finding these properties for them. But at the same time, that's where it gets difficult. I'm sending them all these things based on our discussion, and then they send me something that's not near anywhere. We talked about. I'm like, this is interesting. What made you bring this up? So, in that sense, that's very helpful, because it's great to see that. It's great to talk about it. I mean, you see all these shows on TV too, where it's like, we're going to try this house to see what designs you like, and I'm like, but the house is different, that design could work in that house's layout, where it may not work in the one you're looking at. And then also you have to remember, and I think it depends on your budget, but a lot of people get this mindset like, oh, we have to get it for what it is. And I'm like, you can change anything. That's the one part about being in construction. I know anything can be changed. It's just how much you want to spend. Right.
And how long you're going to be there.
Right.
Like if this is your forever home, or, and you can say, I brought this statistic, I think in the last podcast. What did we say? I've read somewhere, this is crazy, that the average American moves 20 times. I think I said 20 times in their lifetime. That's ridiculous. We were talking about it must be renting, but like you think it's for your forever home, but you, like you said, you can update that bathroom. It doesn't have to be right now. I think everybody in this era, it's so instant. Like you instant results. I get facts right away. Like we're arguing about when someone gets facts. I want a bathroom now. Just get in the house. See what you like. Then you can kind of develop.
To a degree, yes, because it also depends. When someone says, I need a bathroom now, if you've got multiple children, pets, etc., it's hard to do those upgrades because you're displaced. It's a lot of work,
I'm going through one.
Yeah, so there you go.
I know.
The best way to determine whether or not your relationship's going to last, do some remodeling together.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh no, Levi, here we go.
Oh no, you just opened a
Levi,
can of
he
worms.
is-
Where's the
yeah, he
whiskey?
is deep
I'm
in a remodel
deep in
right now.
one.
Yeah.
Almost got divorced last Thursday. I won't lie.
no.
Had to leave the house, get a couple drinks in me, and apologize. But yeah, no, I totally understand that. Like, you don't want to go into remodel, move, and then remodel. But if you're in there for 4 years, like, you can, a sink and for us, maybe, guys, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but some kind of guys, we can just, a toilet, a shower, and a sink can work for us. But, you know, you get into a full remodel, you know, but you're contracting, you can talk them into, you don't want to talk them into it, but you're saying, like, hey.
The one thing that's changed a lot too, and I think technology is a big part of this, because we're now so connected globally,
Right.
that especially with work, life, everything, it's easy to change where you are and move, where in the past, it's very difficult, right? It's an unknown for a lot of people. It's very difficult to move. That's where the term forever home, I only really discuss that term with people that are retired. Because
Really?
there really is no more forever home.
Yeah.
And I had this discussion
Agreed.
with a friend of mine that got a property recently, and I was telling him, I'm like, you know, they were worried about school districts. I'm like, your child's not even born yet. You know, they were pregnant. I'm like, you have 5 years, 4 years probably to figure that out,
Right.
until that really does become a major concern of yours. You know, 3 if you want to be really on top of it. But a lot of people, and then that's the other thing. What happens if your job changes? What if you want to take your child somewhere else? You know, people's families may change in those time periods and disappear. So I kind of look at it as like, what's the best fit for you right now?
Yeah.
That's affordable, that makes sense, that could last, you know, that
Yeah.
isn't an area that you want to be in, but don't base your decision on 20 years down the line, because
Right.
none of us know what that is.
We had a pandemic that shut down the world for 2 years. That's being at home
Yeah.
for 2 years. So you're right. You know, forever home is kind of like out the door now.
Yeah.
You never know.
And that changed a lot for people. I love that. The one thing about the pandemic I love is that I've always been a big outdoors backyard type person.
Yeah.
And the fact that now that made it, because before there used to be, whatever you want to say, discussions, and people talk about what you should spend on your home. And it was always like, never spend more than 10% on your backyard. So if you own a $500,000 house, 50 grand's all I mean, you can't even build a pool for 50 grand.
Not
And
even.
you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And now it's like people are spending $200,000, $300,000, and it's totally a great upgrade.
Yeah.
And it sells properties, and people love that, because now you have an additional, because in California we're, you know,
always
unique,
outdoor living.
right? In the summer's moderate, the winter's not too bad. You know, you can heat a pool with solar pretty easily.
Yeah. You're
So,
getting onto
yeah.
your spa right now.
Yep.
You know, 50 degrees at night. You're like, that's the best time. Get
Yeah.
out to your spa.
It's kind of like basements for the other side of the country.
Right.
They
We're
need
outside.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
But are
finished
they
basement.
using basements to protect themselves from, like,
Yeah, but
natural
you also have, like,
disasters?
it's
Alley.
entertaining. Too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Tornado alleys.
some basements they'll work great in areas that it's cold in the ground. It's also you know, it's kind of like a heat and cold diversion from the base of the house. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're all slabs on the ground here. If our ground froze, imagine how cold the house would be without that, you know, a little bit of air between them.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Didn't
tile
think about
floors. My wife would absolutely tear those out in a second.
Yeah.
Do you have a basement in your place?
No.
No, you don't.
Is there any basements in California?
Oh, yeah. Coronado, you should check out. Like, most people dig underground. I mean, they're not basements. They're actually living spaces.
So that's subterranean, and they do that in certain areas.
Oh,
Del
okay.
Mar as well. You got to be careful, especially there, because the water table. I've heard of projects in
100%.
Coronado that they are literally pumping water out for like 60 days before they can actually finish the
Well,
project or get
so
going.
I worked at the Hotel Del.
Oh, yeah.
We just did a huge, they just did a huge remodel in the last 3 years, but I was working during that. They built a underground 2-story parking facility. They were pumping water at 6 feet. 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine going down another, 50 feet, how much water they had to pump out. They had to filter it. They put it back into the bay. Like, yeah, the water table is,
But we saw that, like, some slope properties, that's where you kind of get a quasi basement, right?
Right.
Because you have an underground portion of the house.
Yeah.
That's what you'd see. So, yeah, the older areas, 50s, 40s, some of those properties you'd see it, but for the most part, no, there's no basements.
Well, those are
around here.
bunkers. You know.
Yeah.
well, I've been seeing it, I've been seeing a lot of properties out in Point Loma going up for sale. And, you get out there and it's kind of creepy down these places. But they were back in the day, like fishermen would come and port in there and they just would, I don't know. There's some creepy like
Some whale
caverns down
blubber.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting, have you been out there?
Mm-mm.
Oh man. Some interesting properties out there. get a little creepy down there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're called basements. They're like stone steps and it's all stone. Like either people build them out and they're like, oh, it's a, it's an extra living space down there. You're like, I don't want to live down here.
What are the skulls for? It's like
Yeah, what's
catacombs.
these fish heads that are on the wall? So let's go to technology, social media. Are you a big social media guy?
I mean, yes, I
like that
love
big
to watch.
sigh.
I love
the
to
big
watch
sigh.
funny stories. I enjoy the fact that I can see so many different things that I, like sports and whatnot. I love being able to see like people's, stories, and catches me up on certain things and events. But as far as posting, no, I'm that guy that posts every now and then, or I'll throw a photo up of my kid, to try and get some notoriety. But it's interesting. Social media is like, I've got the pro and con in it, right? I think it's a good thing. I feel like if that's the route you go, you have to invest 100% of your time in it.
Yeah.
Because, that's everybody's on it. They want to see current updates, and it's just not something that I've always enjoyed doing. I more enjoy it just for the side gig that it is, I don't necessarily think, it's a form of advertising. My whole business is surrounded by my sphere of influence and all of my current and past clients and friends. So I'm a referral based type agent, and the lead gen online, although you can get a lot of stuff through it, and it is friends of friends, so there is a a form of closeness to it, but a lot of that stuff, to me, there's no loyalty. You're not dealing with people you work with, and that's a business model that I'm not saying is a bad thing. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Would you ever go out, obviously you're a golfer, you're a surfer, would you start posting stuff like that to get more business and see, people, it's a good and bad thing, because you can post a lot about golf and you post a lot of surfing. People will find you and be like, oh, I want to work with Roy. He's a surfer. You kind of connect in that. Dogs are a huge, I think, social media thing.
Well, so ironically, my wife had done a side gig for a companion pet care, I think was the name of it. It was a little magazine, and she did some blogs and stuff for this gal. And we ended up going to one of the pet conventions in Las Vegas. It's something like $20 billion in pet food alone a year. It's a crazy industry. Yeah. And they're here. And at the time, we're like, man, I should have done social media for my dog. Because here's these super ugly dogs that are making $1 million a year for their owner, just, being sponsors for this food or going to shows. And what's funny is you see these dogs online, you're like, oh, what a cute dog. And then you meet a person, the dog's does not want anything to do with anyone around him. It cracked me up.
No.
Yeah.
It was like any picture.
Yeah.
Your kids will smile and they're like, oh, what a happy family. But behind the scenes, you're like, you know what it took me to get that smile out of those kids? You're acting like an idiot behind the scenes. And people, it is. It's a good thing and a bad thing, social media. It definitely shows, you at your best. It definitely does not show you at your worst.
Right.
We should.
I think we should. Well,
right,
to a point. I feel like people also get away by looking at social media too. Like you said, I don't want to see. I don't know. I don't want to read the news on social media. I want to see the home run hit or the football play, the Vikings versus the Bills the other week. I want to see that sort of thing. It's an escape from what you're doing at home.
Or what you're going through at the moment.
Yeah,
right?
You do want to connect with people that are going through the same thing.
What if you're going through something tough and you find something that gets to you?
Relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody should start crying and all that, because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I get annoyed by those things, but being vulnerable, maybe just hey, I went through this.
Humanized.
Yeah. And just
to a point,
tough.
You don't want your entire face. Those Facebook people that are just always complaining about something, and you just have to unfollow.
Yeah. Those are they just want the cloud, but they actually you see meet somebody oh, this seems to be a very happy person all the time. All of a sudden he's like, hey guys, I went through something tough. This happened, and this is just tough, but I think I solved it this way.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's human.
Yeah, right? For sure. It's your business card now. It's your resume. If I was looking you up and, you didn't follow me until today, but you're coming on the show. I'm like, oh, I'm going to check out his Instagram. He's like,
don't worry, you're not the first one.
Waiting for a request to go through.
We all follow him back after a year of working with him.
But there's something to be said about that. You keep a tighter group. Like you said, you're referral based. When you post, people are going to look at it, because you're genuine about it. You actually took time. When sometimes you post too much, you come off, I don't know. I mean, I'm not putting down any Instagrammers or anybody who does that, because that's what they do. That's what they love, and they're really good at. I think us in our 40s, it's hard for me to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily know how much to share, because a lot of things that go on in the business, it's between me and my clients. You know, it's not something I really feel like should be out there. I get it. It would be a great way for people to see kind of what goes on behind the scenes, but you know, you got a limit to it. But at the same time, again, that's not really my direction. So I enjoy watching other people's stories, and thank you guys for posting.
I love that too. Well, it's been amazing. We've already been on this for like an hour. It's been
quite a while. It's
been quite a while. It hasn't felt like 30 minutes.
No.
But I'm going to finish. I always finish with this. Finish the sentence. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Okay. I always start with a hard one. Everybody stumbles on this, but we were talking about this earlier. You have a lot of good stories, so maybe you can.
Against sugar in the house, so I had to eat crappy stuff for
Did
cereal.
you really? She was against sugar?
Every time I go over to friends' houses and they had like Fruit Loops or Lucky
You would go
Charms,
nuts.
I'd eat the biggest bowl I could. Yeah, I probably it's the reason why I have a crazy sweet tooth now.
Do you really? Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. I have a I try not to. Like we don't.
I take it back. Quaker Oat squares are pretty good, but there was other bad cereal that I dealt with. You know, like wheat squares and wheat checks.
Just
like
bland.
Yeah.
Like here's some nutrients. Like it'll get you through your day.
What were those Frosted Flakes, but they didn't have the frosting on the top?
Corn flakes.
Flakes.
Just flakes.
Just flakes.
Yeah, just have dry mouth for the rest of the day.
Oh, those are the worst. But the funny part is, like, your parents would buy that stuff and put sugar on it.
Right.
Like, can you just afford the corn or the sugared flakes on there?
I want the
No,
white
we didn't
powder
have sugar.
No, you'd put the little sugar in there.
We did, but I didn't know about that until later on.
So you would just, you can't believe you actually ate just wheat.
Yep.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
I know this is weird, but I really like to blank.
Landscape. Let's put it that way. I know
That's
it's weird, but
amazing.
I really like to do my landscape projects. I've been slow lately, but it's one of those things where you kind of shut off and just work hard, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's manual labor, but sometimes you need that just to kind of, because that's the one thing about our job is it's business. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of emails, and it's not I mean, it can be hard work, but it's not like I'm sweating, you know, my muscles are aching. I think that's
a different
the one thing I like to do every now and then.
Yeah.
I like to do it more often. I just don't have the time right now.
Doing that stuff with your work, and a lot of people, really quick, let's just go back, but you know, I think the consumer doesn't understand what you guys actually do and what you put in. So everybody's saying like, technology, I don't need a real estate agent because, you know, why am I paying them $35,000 to sell my home? But it's a mental breakdown, whether it's, you know, it might not be physical, but you are working your butt off to get them their dream house or,
totally,
you know, into this project.
And this is the easiest way for me to explain this to a lot of people when they go, well, what's the point of your value? Well, not only am I the one doing this, it's not a short time period. There's usually a few weeks prior to the listing, right, if we're talking about selling, that I've got to get stuff prepped, photographs, marketing materials, research what I have to talk about on the property. And my owners always, you know, some are great. They let me run with it. Some were like trying to give me a list of everything that needs to be discussed of why they bought the home. And then you have minimum 30 days. If you're really lucky and you get a cash offer with a 2-week close, sure, wonderful. You know, that's a quick time frame. But throughout that 30 days, you have the seller, the buyer, the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, escrow, title, transaction coordinators, home warranties, home inspections, additional trades that go through it. So it's coordinating with, you know, anywhere from 7 to 20 people. And that's what I think a lot of them forget, is that I'm there handling all these conversations or dealing with all and trying to condense it down to give you what the gist of it is so we can make a decision to move forward.
Right. You're giving them that little piece that they need to know, and but if they were on every phone call with you, like, oh my God, he's calling again. Oh my God, I'm going to work. I'm going to find, you know, then they would understand.
Yeah.
It's the biggest purchase too. You wouldn't expect, like, hey, you're spending this money. You want someone that's educated, who knows San Diego, like, you know,
Not
nobody
just that,
else.
The benefits from housing, and this just made me think of that with the landscaping stuff. If you've ever worked on your own sprinkler system, it is a pain.
100%.
But it helps understand so much. And I had a client recently that bought a place, and you know, it was all irrigated, and I'm like, well, you know, did the home inspector didn't check these things? I'm like, well, let's go turn it on. Just look at it. We watched water bubble up from one of the backyard patios. I'm like, there you go. You got some work ahead of you. But yeah, knowing that stuff, because normally those things don't get looked at and people just neglect it. Yeah. And then it's time, energy, there's money involved to it too. And then you have tools that you got to have too. So that's the funniest is when you go into buying a house, you're like, all right, what's next? I'm like, well, do you own a hammer and a screwdriver?
Yeah.
You know, that's a good start.
Yeah. That's 100% true. The bubbling is like, okay, your water bill is going to be, you might just think this turns on automatically, but your water bill is out.
The other thing is shutting it off. You know, where's the shut off to it? That's what's kind of funny to me. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, there should be a valve, but older homes, they don't have them. So you got to start adding that stuff. So you have caution, but yeah.
Have you ever torn up or cut down a birds of paradise?
Oh yeah. We had a big one pushing a fence over at my house. That was fun.
I'm pretty sure those roots is what created the Stranger Things on Netflix. That's the upside down,
totally.
Like those vines. I hit the ground with a pickaxe and pulled them up, and it's just like roots,
huge
like
ball.
Huge, but like roots going everywhere into If you have a birds of paradise, just leave it.
So if you live in most areas of Carlsbad, San Marcos, we have clay and sandstone.
Oh my God!
I bought a jackhammer just to be able to dig a trench for a retaining wall because I couldn't. There's no way to shovel it.
It's basically concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like Arizona's the same way.
Yeah, there you go.
It's so bad, and I'm actually glad I live in this part of the San Diego because you put your shovel in there, and everything grows here. But Arizona, I mean,
well, I always trip out when I watch movies and these guys are digging, sometimes their graves or whatever. But you watch people dig these 8-foot holes with a normal shovel, and you're like, "Where's the blisters? Where's this guy's pain?"
There's a time lapse on there. That
shovel. Yeah,
your hands are bleeding. There's no what is that called? Just that one stick that just is like.
Pry bar. Well,
10 pounds. And you're just, no.
I think it's funny that you say landscaping because when you said, I was literally about to say picking weeds. I pace when I'm on the phone, like if I'm talking on the phone, I literally will pace in my backyard picking weeds.
Just picking weeds?
Yeah, so next time we're on the phone, you'll know what I'm doing. I'm literally out of breath picking weeds out of my grass.
We would in Arizona, we had such a, Arizona, you have more property. So I had this huge wall and I would let the weeds grow until they die. And I would they actually sell torches. Do you know that? Like a flamethrower almost. And you hook it up to, and I'm carrying this huge 5-gallon propane tank behind me. It was the best feeling. There was only one time
Very therapeutic, yes.
One time I really got scared. Those flames get up there pretty quick.
That's when you have that little thought in the back of your head. You're like, I dare someone to rob me right now.
Oh yeah. But that was crazy because I can't actually believe I did that. Like just burn like in the desert. I'll be like, hey, there's a forest, fire started and, east side of Tucson.
Hey, that's better than Roundup if you've read those stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, burn them to the ground. All right. I laugh when.
I laugh all the time. I laugh when things are funny. Let's see. For example, I laugh when actually things get uncomfortable.
Really?
Because sometimes it just helps me, loosen tension or just kind of say, okay, I've been through enough crazy situations in this industry that I can laugh about stuff now. Yeah. And if you don't, it gets to you. You don't sleep well, so you got to laugh when those things happen.
Well, you're also a property management. Yeah. So tell me the craziest story.
Oh man, they add up. But I can say recently we had a house catch fire about 2 weeks ago. I woke up at midnight to my phone ringing, and it was an out-of-country code. So for some reason, I thought this was a solicitation call or something like that. So I shut it down, went to the restroom, came back, saw I missed a lot of calls. My phone was buzzing. Pick it up, recognize one of the tenants' numbers, and then I'm like, oh no, my owners have been in Italy. They're out there out of the country, and so
they're calling you from Italy.
Yeah, because their neighbors text them photos of the house on fire, and so they're calling me because they're awake. It's 8 a.m. where they are 9 a.m. So I call the tenant immediately. He tells me there's been a fire at the property. I call the owner right after that. So I'm in the garage because I don't want to wake anyone up on the phone. Just learning that this place caught fire. And I'm like, well, how bad is it? They're like, well, the entire garage is burned so far, and they're just putting it down. So trying to figure out everything that's going on and then going to the property the next morning. So that's been the most crazy experience recently, but all kinds of stuff. You deal with things that are interesting. I try and avoid a lot of that stuff, but it's inevitable.
It is inevitable when you're in property management.
Mm-hmm.
But you laugh that stuff off.
Yeah, I mean,
to a point.
To a degree.
To a point,
Once I find out everybody's safe, everything's great.
Like,
that one scared me. They had 3 pets. 2 of them were safe. 1 was missing, and then the next morning they let me know they found it hidden in a back room. So that was good. God. Yeah. Everyone was safe.
What was the cause of the fire?
Just so you guys know. We don't know. We're still unsure. Right now we're tossing up some stories that apparently he had a defective razor that he had bought on Amazon that he left in front of the house. So we don't know. That's one of the things, but that's not my job. That's the fire inspector's job to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful this Christmas when you buy Razor scooters.
I was gonna say, well, hey, the three of us are dads, so
No electric razor. So
Electric,
if you're shaving your head or your beard or whatever
Oh,
it may
an electric,
be,
yeah.
Oh, the
there's
lithium
apparently
batteries,
there's a lot of knockoffs that come through, right? And so
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that. We all buy
Yeah,
the cheapest
we
stuff
always,
we can.
yeah, exactly. The best but cheapest. Like
Right.
you kind of see the stars on there, but that
Yeah.
definitely got a rating. Like might start fire.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you're a dad now, so what makes you laugh is one of your own dad jokes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do you?
Oh yeah.
You have dad jokes. Well,
They're a spur of the moment, right? You try
Right.
and take those and just make them stupid jokes.
And
you
it's a
know?
requirement to laugh at your own joke when it's a dad.
Of course.
joke. No one else will laugh but you.
but your child is only 18 months. Wait
Yeah.
till it gets, she.
Oh, I'm gonna make her embarrassed. That's
Oh,
for sure. That's what we all
100%.
do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's embedded in us though, right? It's just the moment comes and you just make that joke and you're just like, that was stupid, but
You did it on
you
purpose?
laugh at it so hard.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You do it on purpose. I love it.
I do it with grown-ups. Like, what would I do with that?
Well, we all will understand it.
Yeah.
All right. I would die without.
Whiskey,
Ooh, that's a good
No.
one.
maybe.
No, that's an
That's an adult
be-
one. That
no.
works. I was gonna say I'd also die without fish because I love
Oh,
eating
yeah.
fish
Oh, yeah.
tacos, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sashimi,
Ooh.
sushi, all that.
Whiskey and fish. Can
Yeah,
you-
that's not a good combo. Whiskey after fish.
It's not?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Nothing washes down a taco like whiskey. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a nice cold beer
Yeah, yeah.
fish.
Beer,
and then
ice
finish
water.
it off with whiskey.
Topo Chicos have been my repertoire. I could say that. I'd
Yeah.
die without Topo Chicos.
Really?
Just the mineral water, yeah, it's so good. Because it's great. Because one, if you want a beer, I always try and stay away from on the weekdays, and a good bubbly water is a great alternative.
Yeah. Do you do the hard ones?
No,
No,
not really into the seltzers.
not in the seltzers. Nate over here is. He'll tell you.
Don't throw me under the
No,
bus,
I'm just saying. Like I just know I gotta travel. If I'm going with Nate, I gotta travel with some White Claws.
Not the claws. No, I've switched to high noons. Those
Oh, the
yeah,
high
because it has
noons.
real vodka in it.
Yeah, a little. Like,
Not diabetes
a
in
little
a
more
can.
man.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Not the hard. Okay. The secret to a happy life is.
Always staying positive.
Yeah.
If as soon as the negative thoughts enter your head, it takes you down. So
Right.
you just gotta try and look at stuff that, like I said, dealt with a fire. At least everyone's okay. We're gonna get to rebuild the house. Got to stay positive on those things. It's a lot of work coming up, but it's just how it goes.
That's a great mentality. Well, especially because I'm not trying to not throw you, but like laughing stuff off. That's how you stay
Doesn't
positive.
come easy,
But that's how you
It's-
stay
yeah.
positive. You got to put yourself in that mind frame. Like it's okay. You're right. Everybody's safe. Man, that's a crazy story to tell somebody.
Yeah.
That's where you kind of laugh off later.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's all done and finished, then we can go back to it and say, "Wow, that was heavy."
Yeah.
But look at the bright side. Yeah.
Yeah, we can always find the positive. That's a good one. I like that.
Well, it's like with our market right now, it's so easy to complain about how bad things are, how slow things are.
100%.
But if you're able to look at the bright side of stuff, like how much opportunity is there out
Yeah. Well, it gets you back to what you're used to doing. It gets the agents that were really not authentic about being here, out of this industry, and you working your tail off that you've been putting the time in, developing. Like it's just, I think it's, you got to look at the positive. It's going to turn around, and it is what it is now,
Right.
but you
Yep.
keep grinding. You go back to what you know. You go back to landscaping, man. You go back to the hard work.
Picking weeds.
That's what it is. You pick the weeds.
Yeah, I can't afford to pay for the gardener, so I'll do it myself.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
100%. It
Therapy
gets you
at the
back.
same time.
It's the therapy. It's the pacing back and forth while you're on a phone call of how bad this market is.
Yeah.
Man, my yard looks great.
It looks so good.
What is it, the Gen Z, when it's like, if you would just stop buying those lattes, you could afford to buy a house. Well, now, with the slower market, just start doing work on your own.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Well, I don't know about building a full house.
No, one man show is hard to do.
Yeah, that is hard to
Yeah.
do. All right, last one. The advice I would give a new agent is
Don't be fooled by the gimmicks that some of the companies have where you have to do their training programs. Because you see a lot of stuff out there, they want you to be an agent with them. They're going to teach you all these things. You do their specific schools, or not to name names, but some of these guys that do these big, trade shows and motivational type stuff.
Yeah.
Go work with someone that knows what they're doing.
Right.
Because education is the most important part of what actually goes on. That's pretty much it to new agents. That, and do not expect to make a lot of money right away. I was a bartender my first 2 years of having my real estate license because I wanted to supplement income and make sure I knew what I was doing. Yeah.
Smart. There's got to be a good transition. You know, you got to either have a good nest egg that you've already started with from a current job, or you take on some other roles to just kind of like figure it out. But
yeah, and there's been crazy stats going around. I haven't really researched them all, but there was something 1.4 million agents right now, and 800,000 of them didn't do a deal this year. I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about.
That's
really,
crazy.
That's over 50%.
Yeah. There's nothing like the first time though you sell that first house, huh?
Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking. You know, the first time you do it, all you do is question: did I do this right? Is it great? And the one thing you can also tell new agents: don't think it's done until money's in your account. That's the most important part. Yeah. Because you're like, this is golden, and something happens and it changes. So I never think a deal's done until I actually get that email that says, congratulations, we're closed.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's been, I mean, how long have we been speaking, Tony?
120.
120.
Oh, man, I better get moving.
I know, man. I'm so sorry for keeping you, but Roy, that's been great. I want you to look in that camera. Tell people what's next for you. And this camera right here, I'm sorry, Tony. Okay. This camera right here, tell them where they can find you. What's next?
What's next is, what's right for you. That's what I always say to my clients. It's not necessarily about what the market's doing. It's about what you're doing and what's right for you. So I'm always out there trying to find things. What makes me happy is when my clients are happy. And that's why I keep getting referrals again, because they call me when they want to go on to the next property. So that's really where it stems from for me. So what's next for me is I've got property management still going on. There's still a lot of great rental stuff out there. So don't be afraid to call and ask questions. I like to pride myself saying I'm available to answer the phone. I'm not here just to sell you a house or, sign an agreement. And if you want to get a hold of me, there's my website, epicrealestateca.com, or just give me a call, shoot me an email. That's the easiest. Or, come find me. I'm not in the water as much as I'd like to be these days, but if I can get out there, I'll, be happy to talk to you.
Nice. Make sure you go and look for Roy Wannamaker, 2 N's.
That's right.
That's how you find him. Thank you again so much for coming on the
having
show.
Me.
Thanks for making time for us. Tony, tell them where they can find us.
Well, you guys can find us on YouTube. You guys can go there, like, subscribe, ring that bell, leave a comment so we can know exactly what is it that you guys want us to talk about, or who do you want us to bring to the podcast. Also, go follow us on TikTok. We are there. Nathan, you didn't know.
Nathan, leave us with some closing words here, buddy.
I don't even have it. What's TikTok?
What's TikTok? We're in TikTok. We're in Instagram. So go check it out, guys. We are in all audio platforms for podcasts. So please go and check us out. And let's see. Nathan, you have something to say?
Want to take us out, Nate?
I have no idea what to say right now. I've been put on the spot.
You're okay. All right. Join us for the next What's Next podcast. Thanks again, Roy.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. Take care, you guys.
Sorry, Nate, left you on the spot there.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
I always love doing that to you.
Son, now you know how it feels.
Yeah, I used to do it to Tony all the time.
I was just here like...
he always had the same comment for everybody. Like, is he actually listening?
Yeah, I do.
I know you do.
I did, dude.